Okay, here we are doing some filming. We just tried to do some drone footage here across the lake. A little difficult when you don't have a follow me function. Yeah, as you can see, this thing is pretty confidence inspiring in the corners. Actually, I think we go straight here. That's where it starts to get fun and go off-road. Let me turn my ABS off here. Okay, here we go. We're gonna go off-road now. Ow! A bug just flew into me. Jesus. It was like a heavy cicada or something. See if we can get a little footage of him. Yeah, so I don't think I've mentioned where we're riding yet. This is over near Whitney, Texas. It's about an hour south of Dallas. It's beautiful out here. It's kind of like a little bit like hill country, which is, you know, more South Texas, but very similar landscape and features. And it's just lovely riding out here. Of course, when we're riding off-road like this, it's really kind of difficult to not just spray each other with dust and rocks. But if you maintain about 20 or 30 feet, you'll kind of avoid a lot of that. So you'll see us ride staggered like that. It's a cool bike. It's nice. It's got LEDs from the factory, which is really nice. Someone doesn't do that. Ducati. Italia. Okay, so about the bike, let's talk about this thing. I've had this a year and a half now. I got it in January of 2021, right at the end. So I'd ordered this thing brand new. And long-term impressions and review, I guess, you know, we'll kind of call this ride today. So this thing's been awesome, man. I was telling someone last week that it just feels like like I made the right choice for me for sure. For what I want out of a motorcycle, this thing is just, it ticks all the boxes. And I have very minor gripes with it. It's a cool motorcycle. The more I look at it, the more I kind of start to notice some of the smaller little features and stuff, and it becomes really cool. I wasn't a huge fan of the red at first, but now it's kind of grown on me. Try not to dust him too hard there. I don't want to kick up rocks at him on his nice new bike. Gotta get a little bit of ahead of them if you're going to do that. But yeah, as you saw, we just did 93 right there. I mean, man, that might be one of my favorite things about this bike, is that it's just so stable and planted, and it's it feels plush without feeling overly soft. So it dampens out this road really well, and big bumps that you hit, it does a really good job of mitigating those and making it feel like you're on something more like kind of a street motorcycle, which, let's be honest, this thing is more of a street motorcycle that has off-road capabilities, not so much the other way around. It'd be kind of like similar to, you know, the tires kind of tell you about the bike. It's maybe like a 60-40 or a 70-30 or something. 70% on-road, 30% off-road. The suspension architecture is great. You know, it's got the single-sided shock over there on the left side, and then it's got the forked trailing arm. What do we call that? I can't think. Swing arm. And so it just feels really stable and planted, which makes sense because, you know, people do actually race these bikes like in the Mint 400 and have had good success, including Ducati and Fast House themselves. And I've seen a few people in the owners group that I know one guy took this and won his class there. So it's really cool to see that this thing can actually, you know, get some off-road credibility. All right, let's. Man, I would just love to see, you know, what pros do with this thing on road. I mean, I guess I have seen a little bit of it, and it is pretty cool. I'm not a beginner by any measure. I don't know, I'm somewhere between intermediate, like kind of on the higher end of intermediate, I wouldn't say. That was cool. So I'm not, you know, pushing this thing like someone really could, but I'm also not a total beginner or noob. Well, off-road riding can be a little bit treacherous, but this bike makes it feel safer than you would think it really is. But I grew up riding dirt bikes, so that's kind of what appealed to me about this thing. Is like, okay, it looks kind of like a dirt bike, which I love the style of. I love like old enduro bikes as well too. It's got a big motor, it's pretty fast, and it can go off-road pretty well. So for me, it ticked all the boxes, you know, because the looks of it in a motorcycle are important to me. If it doesn't look cool, I'm sorry, but you know, that's that's a large part of a motorcycle for me. to get him to do a flyby kind of. So these tires are pretty wide on both the front and rear, you know, when compared to something like, what am I going to compare that to? Really cool. You can feel the rear tire just start to move on you on this thing, but it never feels like it just wants to kick out and throw you off. I think the throttle tuning on this thing is fantastic. I don't know what the earlier years were to ride, you know, like 2016 through 2019, I think, before they revised it, but this feels just perfect on for the off-road surface. Back to that tire talk. Yeah, these things, they're the Scorpion Pirellis. Oh, I'm sorry. They're the Pirelli Scorpions STR. Okay, I wasn't realizing this was actually like gravel as well. So I can feel the back end kind of step out on me there. I was thinking that was like a rough paved surface. Does it look fine? Okay. Yeah. I was just feeling a little paranoid there, I guess.
That looks fine.
Huh? Yeah, it looks fine. I don't know why I was thinking it felt a little weird. Maybe it's just lower on the air than normal. So when you're riding this thing off-road, it might be obvious, but you definitely want to go into the off-road mode, which turns ABS. You could select ABS on and off. And I could be wrong, but from what I remember, that doesn't do anything else other than give you that option. Which, to be fair, doesn't really need much else. It's kind of a, I wouldn't say no frills, but it's a pretty, you know, low frills bike. Whereas you got that thing, it's got a tablet on it, it's got all sorts of crazy modes. Alright, let's review the figures of this thing. It's got 72 horsepower. Torque, I think, was in the 50 to 60 range. I'll have to look at that again. I'll put it on screen here. It's got a 19-inch front wheel, and an 18-inch rear. So a lot of people chirp it for that reason, because it doesn't have a 21-inch front, which is apparently what true adventure bikes have, like that thing up there. So more even, honest comparison to that bike would be kind of like the new Desert X that has, you know, 900cc motor, a little closer to that, and then a 21-inch front wheel, and more kind of that Dakar style off-road bike. He's definitely more confident on this thing than the KTM. So last week we were riding on this, and then he has a KTM 520 enduro bike of some sort. I don't remember what model that is, but it's got real skinny tires and it's just super squirrelish. But it looks really confident on this thing. Oh, there's a deer there. You do have to watch out for that. Brakes on this thing feel confident. It's got nice Brembo units on it. It's pretty controllable. Yeah. Oh, oh, oh! The irony of that. I came into that really hot actually, but what I was trying to say is that the rear end is really controllable on this thing. You know, I was braking there and it was staying in line pretty well. I could feel it moving around a little bit, but never just wants to twitch out on you. Now that understeer kind of thing was my fault. There it comes. Alright, so 803cc motor, 72 horsepower, torque, put that on screen. It's got an inverted fork up front. It's got a Brembo dual piston, I believe. It's either dual or quad up front, and then dual in the rear, from what I recall. Forget the disc size, but they're pretty good. Where we stopped off last time for a drink. Well, unfortunately I was correct. The rear does feel pretty low, and we just took a look at it, and while you know, it doesn't look entirely flat, it's still, you know, something we need to address. So that's kind of funny that I guess that occurred when I was talking about tires. That's just how life works. But that is one small thing I would like to see change about this bike, is I wish it was a tubeless setup. Come on, dude, go. Which you know, you can definitely change it too, but I wish out of the box it was a tubeless setup. That would be nice. So sorry, I thought that said cuck check. All cucks check in, please. So luckily there is a motorsports place down here on the right. We're going to check and see if they are open. It's a Saturday. and it's almost noon. So we'll see if they are open and can do anything for us. I hope they can. Otherwise, we'll be going to plan B or C. You know, I beat the crap out of these tires. I really have. This thing's got over 2,000 miles of it. Went to Moab. I've done plenty of off-road stints where, you know, I'm not easy on these tires. I'm out there slamming it against stuff, and I've even jumped the bike a little bit too, going on hard terrain. Oh yeah, I think this is the place. Doesn't look like it's... maybe this is it. Yeah. I'm gonna circle around here, put these things in the shade. See what they can do. Alright guys, well thank you for watching that part of the video. Of course, I wanted to finish the review out on the bike itself, but due to the fact that that tire shop was not open, I was not able to get my tire fixed that day and continue riding and filming. So we're going to finish out the video from here. Did want to cover a couple things, including long-term reliability, maintenance, and some of the items that I would either like to see change from the factory or that you might look into to change yourself. So first thing that I noticed with the bike is that putting it into neutral, I shouldn't say putting it into neutral, but the computer reading the neutral position on the shift lever can be a bit finicky. Other riders have mentioned this as well too. And again, it's not finding it or getting it into neutral that's hard. It's the computer not reading it correctly, which can be adjusted at the dealership. Second would be the brake lever switch design for the rear is pretty weak. It uses a little thin gauge metal arm that pushes down into a pin. And first time I laid the bike over, I damaged that switch and it hasn't really worked properly since. So I do have a replacement for that. It was only about 40 bucks. The Ducati parts tax for this bike isn't too bad, especially considering that, you know, it shares a lot of those parts with the whole Scrambler lineup, and those have been around, I think, 7 years at this point. So it's a pretty universal parts catalog for those bikes in most of what they offer. I even looked at a new fender painted for my bike, you know, brand new, right after it came out, and I think it was like 150 bucks for that, so that was kind of impressive, or surprising, I should say. Other thing would be that the brake reservoir seems to weep a little bit from time to time, and I'm not quite sure why that is, but it's a very small amount. It hasn't affected the reliability or the performance of the bike, but every so often I notice that there's a tiny bit of brake fluid on that reservoir. Apparently other owners have seen that as well too, but just something to note. Now, this other one's kind of funny. This the clock itself seems to read slow. It is on Italian time, and I think it's just trying to revert back to its natural time zone, but yeah, it just tends to lose time, you know, as the further we go. It just slips back further and further until it reverts to Italian time. Espresso. So other than that, it's been a really great bike, 3,000 miles. You know, I rode 650 miles the other weekend, and no hiccups at all. But that does lead me into a couple things I would change, notably being the seat itself. It's not the most comfortable in the world. It's not horrendous, but on longer trips like that, you start to notice it. But of course, this isn't like some kind of touring bike, and you know, mileage may vary. But something to think about. Other than that, tubeless tires I would also do, of course, because that's really going to be a good off-road setup, and it depends on how much you're going to use your bike off-road, but I think I could really benefit from that as well too. Run those lower tire pressures and not worry about, you know, pinching the tube itself, and yeah, getting it flat out in the middle of nowhere. It'd be nice to see that. Other than that, I would also love a cruise control, but once again, you know, I'm getting a little nitpicky here because I know the bike is not intended for long highway stints and such. It's rather just a shoot down to your local desert or Starbucks, whichever is closer. So, but yeah, that would be nice to have, and I think I'm probably going to install just a little throttle lock on mine for those longer trips. Outside of that, the bike has been amazing.
I love the thing so much. I think I ended up with the perfect motorcycle for me. And I don't think the future ownership is going to be too expensive from what I'm seeing. You know, we will have to do that Desmo service, you know, the valve service at 7,500 miles and do a timing belt at either that or 5 years. So, but I hear the pricing isn't too bad on those. So outside of that, I want to thank you guys for watching these videos, and to make sure and get out and ride your bikes if you have one. Hopefully you have one. If not, go ahead and get one because I said so. Tell them your doctor said you need it for your mental health. We live in some crazy times. I hope you guys can get out and either ride or just find something, you know, like wrenching that helps you guys get through whatever times you might be facing on your own. Mental health is really important, so get out there, hang out with friends, go ride, wrench, whatever it takes. Thanks for watching as always, and we'll see you in the next video.